Hello and welcome to the Pan-Atlantic Foundation's online host family orientation. I just want to start out by saying thank you so much for opening your heart and home to being a host family. I know that it takes a lot of courage and it's a big decision for a lot of families to be a host family and to welcome one of these students into your home. So this orientation is mostly just to help you get acquainted with our program, prepare you for the time when your student's here, and to help you have a successful year. So let's get started. First of all, just a little bit about the Pan-Atlantic Foundation. The Pan-Atlantic Foundation is a not-for-profit organization based out of Portland, Maine, and what we do is we bring students from other countries into the United States, and these are all non-U.S. citizens, and we help facilitate their year here in the U.S. as typical American teenagers going to a American high school, living with an American host family. So that's something we are all very passionate about. Every one of our staff has been a host mom or a host dad or has been an exchange student. So this is something we all are very passionate about. We all know each side of the stories and have all personal experience with. So as an organization, we really appreciate our host families because we too are host families, and we truly believe that this experience changes lives, and it's our mission to make the world a better place for all people through education and cultural exchange. In preparing for your students' arrival, some really cool things that you can do to help them feel more at home or more welcome would be to learn some interesting facts about their country. You know, maybe if you have a student for Spain, you can look up their city and maybe find out what it is unique about their city. And then that way when they arrive, that you would have a few questions that you could ask them about that, or something to talk about. You could also learn how to say hello or welcome in their language. A lot of students will really love this because it makes them feel, you know, maybe when they're completely in a foreign area with a foreign family in a foreign city, that they do have that little piece of home that's not so foreign. It's also fun to kind of see the difference in the cultural norms. So everything is normal to us as Americans might not always be normal to your students. I know some students, like in some countries, the plumbing is old, so it's normal for them to throw the toilet paper in the trash can, where here a lot of us flush our toilet paper. So those are just to give you some things that are to prepare yourself for, that, you know, you might think, oh, everybody does that, but when in reality over there everyone does it differently. So some of those norms aren't always the same for us as they are for our students. By now, I think you've already been familiar with your area representative. An area representative is going to be your liaison between your student and the foundation. So your area representative is there for you to answer questions, to help you through any problems that you will have. They should be available through email and phone. So if you don't know these, that email or phone number, please make sure you get those. But if your area representative is not available, we have an emergency phone number that is available 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So when you call this number, someone will answer. Our phone number is 1-888-301-9868. Here we're just going to cover some of the host family and student expectations. First of all, the host family is required to provide room and board. So this is just their bedroom, you know, give them a place to study, whether it be the kitchen table or in a place in their room or in an office somewhere in your house. There'll be transportation, you know, if your student plays a sport or needs to go to the store to get something, that's part of the program as well. And supportive home environment. Just helping support your student through anything they're going through, or in their sports or in their activities or anything like that. And also sensible parenting. So just like if you were to send your teenager to another country, you would hope that a parent there would help help your child in the right direction and kind of give them their boundaries and parent them just as you would. So here we would really, really want you to parent our students just like you would parent your own children. And school lunches. So students can be shown how to make their own lunch and breakfast as well as how to do their own laundry too. So first with those school lunches and breakfast, they're always welcome to take those from home, but a lot of students do want the American experience of eating in the school with the lunch trays and sitting at the tables with their friends. So if they do that at school, those are their expenses. So you do not send them money or anything for school lunch. They pay for that out of their own pocket. And that is known, ahead of time from them, and their parents know this. So if they choose to eat the hot lunch at school, that's their cost. As far as doing laundry, it's always great to show them how to do their laundry, tell them which day you want them to do it, and just so they can take care of that. You are welcome to do their laundry, but it always is great for them to learn this independence on their own. It's great for you to not treat your student as a guest. For the first few weeks, that might work out fine for you, but the student is going to be here for a long period of time. So either you're hosting a 5-month student or a 10-month student. So you have to be able to do in the beginning what you can sustain for the whole year. And one of those things is some of your things like responsibilities and chores. If you're not going to get up and make breakfast for them the whole year, I wouldn't start doing it the first few weeks. Just because when you stop doing those things, then the student might wonder, well, what did I do wrong? And it's always great to kind of go ahead and give them all the rules up front. The first few days when the student arrives, give them a tour of your home. I would sit down with them and, make out a list ahead of time, sit down and go over your house rules, some things like maybe no food in the bedrooms, your curfew, what curfew is on school nights, what curfew is on weekends, when you want to know if they need to go somewhere, should they tell you ahead of time, things like that. And those are always good to lay out the first few days. That way, those ground rules are made throughout the rest of their time here. And also, allow for culture shock. It is totally normal for a lot of these students to go through some culture shock just because it's so different from their home country, especially some of our Asian students who haven't always done things the way we have here, and even our European students as well. So for meals, we do expect families to provide 3 meals a day, and those are meals in the home with your family. But we understand that not every day is the same, so there are some exceptions there. If a student decides to go out on the weekend with his friends and they have dinner together, it's his expense. If he wants special snacks that you don't have, those are his expense. We are providing like lunches for them to take to school if they want, but like I said, most students do choose to eat at school, and that is their expense there as well. Phone and computer usage. So American teenagers, if anyone's noticed, they're all obsessed with technology these days. So it's not really any different with the international students. We do, however, encourage students to limit their contact and limit their use of their devices. We do encourage them to only speak with their natural parents once a week, and that's just to help them with homesickness. Some students can handle this, talking to their parents, but some students it's really hard for them to talk with their parents and even their friends, especially things like Snapchat and Instagram, where they're plugged in every day, all day. So if someone's doing something fun, they're Snapchatting it, and their friends are seeing what their friends are doing all the time. And these are always only the good times. Everybody only shows the good times on their social media. Nobody shows the bad times or the boring times that they're having. So sometimes it's really hard when the students are seeing all these wonderful things that they're missing out on in their town with their friends and their family, like especially birthdays is really hard sometimes. So we do ask the students try to limit their contact, especially if you're seeing signs of homesickness. This might be something that needs to be addressed, just to, hey, let's just try to back off some of your contact with your family and your friends, and to once a week, or just something that helps them be more present here. If you feel like any of their social media connection is, or even cell phone usage or technology usage is interfering with your connection with the student, please inform your area representative as soon as possible. Letting your area representative know it's not getting your student in trouble, it's just things that need to be addressed as soon as possible, just because a little problem now can be a big problem later. And smaller problems are easier to fix than big problems. The area representative's goal is to try to make it the best experience for both the host family and the student. So they're always going to be working to try to make your experience a good one. So school, these are a lot of questions that we get frequently. So registration, a lot of times you just make an appointment with your counselor and they will already have the information that the student is coming to the school. Sometimes they'll have that full enrollment, the full student application that you received in your welcome email as well. So they'll be ready for you, and you can just take your student in. A lot of times you can just fill out the regular registration packet that you would with your own child. And a lot of that's just, your bus information, your address, your home, contact information, emails, things like that. So you would just register your student for school, just like a regular student. Not all schools allow graduation for our students, and every single student and their parents have been told that graduation is not expected. So if they do get to graduate, it's just a bonus. Not all schools allow graduation because of certain requirements that they require for their graduation. So they're not going to change their requirements just to allow a student to graduate. So please, 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 if a school says they are not going to allow exchange students to graduate, we do ask that you do not push them on this matter, because it's something they've decided, and we don't want them to feel uncomfortable hosting exchange students if it's going to be a struggle every year on their rules and regulations. Sports. So sports is a big one. A lot of students come here and they want to be involved with sports, which is okay. If your school allows it. Most schools are fine with students playing sports, but each school has a different requirements. So some states require eligibility forms and fees to play sports, sports physicals, and different things like that. So if you just have to follow those as best you can. And sports physicals, if a student is required to do a sports physical, they need to do those, but those are not covered under their insurance, so they will have to pay for those out of pocket. And the best way to probably just call around and ask different places how much it is a sports physical without insurance. Most of them, like in my state of Kentucky, they're about $35. In the beginning of the year, there's some things that go on that students just don't know what they are yet, so it's really nice for them to have help from their host family. So like yearbooks, we all know that yearbooks are advertised at the beginning of the year so that they can be available at the end of the year in most schools. So please help your student, just kind of say, hey, these are the yearbooks, and explain to them what they are. That way they can make a decision if they need one or not. About 50% of my students want a yearbook. So, and the other percentage probably changed their mind once everybody started getting them at the end of the year. So just kind of explain to them, like at the end of the year, everyone signs each other's book, and it's more about a social, day there at the school that makes the yearbook more fun than the idea of the yearbook. But most students probably would have really enjoyed to have a yearbook. It's just, I think the cost of some of them are offsetting in the beginning. But please explain these yearbooks to your students so that they understand. Program rules for the student. All of our program rules, I think, are pretty simple and straightforward. First of all, the student has to follow all U.S. laws. They do need to respect their area representative. Their area representative is there to help them and to help the host family. We're never there to cause trouble or get them in trouble, but we do have to uphold the integrity of our program. So we need to make sure that everyone is following our rules. Students are not allowed to drive anything, and this is mostly because their insurance does not cover them if they are driving. This includes automobiles, mopeds, snowmobiles, and etc. The only exception to this is if they are taking a driver's education course through their school as a class. So that is the only exceptions. Students cannot get their license here, except for through that driver's education class, and only a few schools offer those classes. There is absolutely no smoking, drinking, or drug usage. If the student is over 18 and can buy cigarettes, that is still not allowed. This is also against our program rules. They must speak English as much as possible. They have to be on time to class and meeting places. And your family rules become our rules as well. So they have to follow your host family rules. Responsibilities of the host family. So the biggest one is just to include your student in your daily life. The students are here to live life as a typical American teenager, and part of that is just being part of your family's daily life. Your area representative is there for any problems, including health, culture shock, being disrespectful or breaking rules. These are all issues that your area representative should be aware of as soon as they happen, mostly just to help work through those small issues while they're still small. These are still teenagers and they still need guidance and parenting. So we just want to make sure that we do get the student on the right track as soon as possible and not wait until there are big issues to address them. You are not responsible for paying for students' entertainment, such as sightseeing or movies or etc. These are all things the student has brought their own money for. Students do have their own spending money for personal expenses, such as even their shampoo and things like that, souvenirs, entertainment. Those are all things that they have their own money for. And their parents know these things up front, so they know to send the money for them. Most students do get $250 to $300 every month, and this is sent to them by their family, and this is expected. We do have some ARs have larger groups of students, so they do like to get their students together and for group activities, and those are all things that, you know, I think it's a really great thing for the students to be in a group with others that are going through the same experiences as them. They can get together and talk about the things they're doing and maybe things that they're excited about doing. And it's just really nice to be able to be around someone who's going through the same journey you are. So those are always wonderful to get those students together, and even sometimes the host families to get them together as well. So anytime there's a group activity, please be encouraging of your student to go and try to provide the transportation for them to do that. If you're unable to provide transportation, I'm sure if you coordinate with your area representative, they'd be really happy to work with you to get your student to those activities. So money, students have money. Every student gets $200 to $300 sent to them from their families every month. While the student usually manages their own money, we do ask that hosts kind of talk to them about how to safely handle their money. Even you know your city and where you're going, so to be careful, like how much money they're taking with them, or they're storing it at home, or things like that. But most students typically do have cash, and then they also have credit cards or debit cards that are from their country. And sometimes there are a few issues with those cards. For example, I have a student that their card would never work at Walmart, but it was something with the Walmart system that would kick out their debit card. So when they're first here, it's always nice for them to bring their card and their money and to make sure that their card works everywhere. Some students will use their card to get cash from the ATM. Sometimes you can look around your town and find the cheapest ATM exchange for them, and that's really helpful because some students will just get out $20 every time and pay, you know, a $5 or $6 ATM fee. But if you kind of help them through that process, hey, if you take out more money, we can safely keep it here at home, and you can just take the smaller amounts with you as you need it to save that money every time. Religion. So first of all, we really encourage our students to attend religious services with their host families, but this is something we cannot require. We do say that religious services provide social and educational opportunities. However, a student should not feel compelled to attend religious services or activities or engage in religious rituals. It is strictly prohibited for us to try to attempt to convert a student to our host's religion. And that is just because if you have your child here and it maybe goes to Thailand, for example, you wouldn't want them to try to convert them to be Buddhist or to be another religion that is opposite of yours. Religion is something that's very personal, I think, to a person and to their family. And so we just want to respect those boundaries. But like I said, we do encourage students to go with the host families to church. And mostly this is not a problem because we do tell our students it is part of the culture here. It's part of the host families. A lot of it here is social. It's a big part of the family's social life. And so we do encourage students to attend church with their families. Community service is something that our students are required to do. Each student is required to complete 8 hours of community service per semester. And some students that they go above and beyond and do so much more. There's a lot of different things they can do for community service. Most of people like to have them help in their church. So maybe helping set up for events, taking down for events, helping with different programs there. They can help with the school, so volunteer to help the janitor after school. I had a student that did that. Some students help the Humane Society, or here in Kentucky, we have our students, they volunteer at the Center for the Arts, and so they get to watch some of the shows for free, and that's really interesting. And it's built a lot of great relationships for these students to be able to donate and give back to the community that's given to them. So if you need any help with ideas, maybe ask your area representative, or even ask your student what things that they might be interested in, or even things that you would like them to help with. And those would be good topics to kind of start the conversation on their community service. So medical insurance, every student has medical insurance. It's a student travel medical insurance. You did receive a copy of it, and it was emailed to you in the student's welcome packet. So it was an email that said, "Welcome to the Pan-Atlantic Foundation." It was really long. It had your student's full application on there, which was probably the most you were most excited to see. So, but that information is on that same email. If you need another copy of this, just let your area representative know and we can get you another copy. But that insurance card is in that information. If there's ever any use for this, for the student's insurance, you need to report to your AR the date of any illness or accident requiring health services, the reason for the visit, and name and phone number of the service providers. And this is just to make sure that the student's insurance is being used correctly and that he or she is not going to be left with a huge bill. Also, thinking of bills, make sure that as a host family, you never sign any forms accepting financial liability for your students' medical bills. If at any time that you're needing that signature for someone saying that they would take responsibility for the medical bill, please call your area representative immediately because it takes a lot for us to get that responsibility taking off. So never ever sign anything saying that you will make sure their bill is paid. For medical emergencies, for a very critical medical emergencies, always call 911 first. Following this, contact your area representative as soon as possible, and then that emergency number that we talked about at the beginning of the slideshow, it's the 1-888 number. It's our emergency cell. It's 24 hours, and someone answers it no matter what time or the hour of day that you call. For non-emergency medical issues, take your student to the urgent care clinic and inform your area representative. So a lot of our students do experience culture shock. Here's some of the symptoms of culture shock. So stage 1, they can get here and they're so excited because everything is so overwhelming. It's so much stuff, new things everywhere. They're really excited. So they can have enthusiasm and excitement. And then stage 2, they kind of go back down the hill and they're maybe doing a little bit of withdrawal. doing a fight or flight. So these are, maybe they start to stay in their room more and they're more quiet, more withdrawn from people. And so that's when we started working with them, like pulling them out of the room, giving them things to do, so that they're not sitting there thinking about maybe the negative parts of the culture shock. So stage 3, they're starting to go climb back up the hill a little bit. They're making those adjustments. They're starting to appreciate their experience, and they're starting to do a lot better. And then stage 4, they're all enthusiastic and they're completely accepted of their time here as well. So some of these students will go through this culture shock. It's something they kind of can't control. So if you do see some of these signs, just let us, the area representative, know, and we'll help work with you and your student as they go through these, the short little roller coaster of a culture shock. So there might be a calendar of activities for your area. Your area representative, depending on their amount of students in the area, will sometimes plan get-togethers for the students. Some even have a full year of calendar for your students, and some might just have a few activities here and there. So these activities you can maybe ask your area representative about, but mostly likely the area representative will make sure you have that information and your student. These get-togethers will be given with ample time to plan and put on your calendar. If you are unable to provide transportation to a meeting point, please inform your area representative. If transportation is an issue, then the area representative might be able to make arrangements for your student to have transportation. If it is at the same time, maybe it's something you do, or maybe, for example, if it's going to the pumpkin patch as a group, and that's something you do with your family and it's something special to you, just let your area representative know that's something that you do as a family and that you would prefer to do that. And that also might help the area representative when planning the activity. A lot of activities you're welcome to join in if you like. The area representative sometimes likes to get together the families and the students. Also, feel free to organize activities with other families and students. So if you have a pool and want to have a pool party for all the students, I'm sure the area representative would absolutely love for you to volunteer that. Because we do like to get those students together. It's a lot of fun for them to meet with people that they're going through the same things with. And some of them they were in the orientation groups with, that they made friends with. So it's even really fun for them to get together and see each other and periodically throughout the year. Tax deductions. So currently we do have people lobbying to try to get a bigger tax deduction for these host families that are like you, that are doing wonderful jobs by opening your hearts and homes to these students. But currently it's granted at $50 per month for each student you host. So we have the tax information, but it is considered a charitable donation. And we do have a form that you can ask for at tax time. Just ask your area representative and they should be able to get that for you. And because this is a recording, I guess there will be no time for question and comments, but if you do have any questions, feel free to email me at kwheatley@panatlanticfoundation.org, or ask your area representative and they can forward those emails into us if needed, or they should be able to answer a lot of your questions for you. And lastly, we just want to say thank you so much to you and your family for opening your hearts and home to this experience and hosting a student for us. We just really, really appreciate all our families, and we wouldn't have this program at all if it wasn't for you all. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. One last thing before you go, to confirm that you or someone in your family has watched this presentation, please go to the next slide and there will be a link there to a SurveyMonkey. So just click that link. You'll type in your student's name or their student ID. Either one will be fine. And then just type in your name, and by typing in your name, that's your electronic signature saying that you did watch this presentation, and this is a Department of State requirement. So please make sure you do that before logging off. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.